Hey guys, I'm Trey, and today I'm going to teach you how to make an amazing cup of coffee using the Aeropress. So the first thing we're going to do today is start with the water. We're just going to fill up our kettle here with filtered water, and it's really important because obviously, just like drinking water, the less minerals, the better it tastes. Same thing with coffee. The more pure the water is, the better the coffee is going to taste. So we're just going to let that boil, and while we're doing that, we're going to take our coffee and start grinding it. So we're going to use the scoop that comes with the Aeropress. I'm just going to take a scoop of coffee, take a heaping scoop. This is about 17 or 18 grams of coffee. So we're also going to use the funnel that comes with the Aeropress to go right on top of our grinder, and just like this, pour the coffee directly into the funnel. Just like that. If you have a similar grinder to this, we are going to turn it all the way to the right, and then we're going to turn it to the left 8 times. So it's going to be a pretty fine grind, a little bit coarser than we would use for espresso, but a little bit finer than we would use for like a pour over. So now that the water's done boiling, what we're going to do, we're going to take our paper filter, put it into the basket, and we're going to use this to preheat or to rinse the filter and to preheat the mug. Just like that. So now that's rinsed. So the Aeropress comes with the chamber, the plunger, and the basket with the paper filters. We are going to put it upside down, like so. And for the coffee, like I said, we're using a pretty fine grind. Hopefully you can see that. It's pretty fine. Since we have the funnel, we might as well use it. We're just going to dump the grounds directly into the chamber like so. So you're going to take your hot water and pour it into the chamber, making sure that all the coffee is saturated with water. Just going to fill it up. Not all the way full, because if it was all the way full, we wouldn't be able to stir it, but pretty full. You're going to take the stir that comes with the Aeropress. You can stir it for about 20 seconds, or you can stir it 20 times, something like that. Roughly, it doesn't really matter, it's just kind of a rough estimate. Now you're going to let this sit for about 30 to 40 seconds. While this is sitting, I just wanted to mention why this is such a great way to make coffee in the morning. My favorite reason being it makes about 1 cup. So I don't want like 3 cups in the morning. I just want 1 cup of coffee, and this is an amazing way to do that. I find it's super easy, really simple, really easy cleanup. You don't have to measure. So obviously we just used the scoop today, and we filled up the water. We're not using a scale or anything like that. So that makes it really easy. Also, it's really portable. So if I'm running late, if I snooze my alarm 1 too many times, I can kind of just take this with me, throw it in my bag, and yeah, before you know it, I'm making coffee at work. Really easy. I think my favorite thing about this though is you can reuse the paper filters. So once you've used the paper filter, you kind of just rinse it off and get all the grounds off, hang it up, let it dry, and then by the next day you can reuse that filter, so you don't have to worry about wasting filters. And it's a lot better on the environment, which is amazing, and also a little bit better on your bank account, so can't complain there either. So at about 30 seconds, you're going to take your Aeropress and your mug. You're just going to flip this over right on top of the mug. So it might drip out a little bit, that's okay, just make sure you're careful. Then from here we're going to plunge. So this plunge should take about 20 to 30 seconds. not too long. Another great thing is you can kind of adjust the amount of coffee that you're using. So we're using a small amount of coffee. We used about a scoop of coffee, and we're grinding it a little bit more fine. Other people prefer to use more coffee and grind it more coarse. It's just kind of personal preference, but for me, if I'm doing this every single day, then I don't want to be using 30 grams of coffee every time I'm making 1 cup of coffee. For me, that's just a little wasteful, and I don't have money to be spending. I don't have money to be buying coffee all the time, so I'm not going to. Once it starts to hiss, you can go ahead and stop pushing, stop pressing down on the coffee. And then you're just going to flip it over, let it sit. And then here we have about a little bit over half a cup of coffee. So what I like to do is just take my water and fill it up to the top. You can kind of play around with this as well, how much water you want to add or don't add. That's kind of personal preference. That's the cool thing about this, is everyone's taste is a little bit different, so you can kind of customize this recipe to how you want. Just add more water or don't add more water. It's kind of the nice thing. So the entire brew process is going to take about 2.5 minutes to 3 minutes roughly. It's really simple, really quick, really easy, and the best thing about it is you're getting an amazing cup of coffee every single time. So enjoy.